Hello and welcome back to the news from Kazakhstan. I'm Marina Kim and here are the headlines. An outbreak of hepatitis A is registered in the Pavlodar region. 7 pupils are hospitalized in the village Yamishevo. A criminal case is instigated against the deputy chairman of the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan. The different paths. President's advisor Muhammad Yiltizbayev believes the opposition is trying to discredit the upcoming OSCE summit in Astana. Seven pupils in the Pavlodar region have contracted the virus of hepatitis A. All of them study at the same school in the village of Yamishevo. Apparently, the initial outbreak was registered on September 27th, while the school was subsequently closed only 5 days ago. All this time, local authorities tried to cover up the case and solve the problem with their own efforts.
7 pupils from the village of Yamishevo in the Pavlodar region were hospitalized after being diagnosed with hepatitis A. The school was closed down and the quarantine announced. More than 300 pupils are now staying home. The sanitary agency is examining the building and nearby areas as well as testing water samples taken at the site. We had to shut down the school for the safety of children. The classrooms were sprayed with chlorine-containing solutions and also conducted some work with the district sanitary and epidemiology agencies. The accident happened 5 days ago, but the authorities chose to keep silent about it. The epidemiology specialists have yet to find the source of the infection. It is believed that children could have caught the virus as far back as summer. It takes 35 days for hepatitis A to fully develop inside the body. Likely the source of the infection was a 5-year-old child who attended the summer school in the same building. The child was not vaccinated against hepatitis and visited Uzbekistan for summer holidays. Epidemiologists believe this is where the virus came from. Currently, the health condition of 3 out of 7 patients is gradually improving.
The head of the intensive therapy unit of the Astana Medical Center, Aygul Zhitimkarinova, died on Tuesday. The 48-year-old doctor worked for the infamous hospital that accommodated the former health minister who feigned his illness and coma to avoid criminal punishment. Several of the hospital's staff, including Zhitimkarinova, were charged with conspiring and concealment and were even interrogated by the law enforcement agents. In the meantime, the center itself was recognized as the best medical enterprise in Europe and awarded the Order of Queen Victoria.
The hospital, which employed doctors accused of helping former health minister Doskaliyev to feign his illness, is recognized as the best enterprise in Europe, with its director Abay Bagenzhin named the best medical top manager. The center's leader proudly demonstrates the British Order of Queen Victoria and doesn't hide his attitude towards the recent scandals. Bagenzhin says that the top award of the European Commission is the best proof of innocence of his colleagues. Don't you think we have to take some measures when we accept the patients escorted by financial policemen? I'm a doctor who gave my oath 40 years ago back in the Soviet Union. We treat everyone, even murderers. I do not want to criticize anyone now, as I think time will show who is right. Previously, the financial police accused doctors of the Astana hospital in preventing the investigation and even instigated a criminal case against them. The investigation of the matter is still underway. Meanwhile, it was reported on Tuesday that the head of the intensive care unit, Aygul Zhitimkarinova, has died. She was among other doctors summoned for the interrogations. In general, the staff of the hospital reluctantly comments on the so-called Doskaliev's case. Even officials of the health ministry said on Tuesday they do not notice the absence of the former boss, as the work continues to be done even without him. To avoid any questions during the change of its leadership, the ministry is creating a conceptual document. There will be no significant changes in our prior plans, especially since the entire staff remains in their positions. For many hospitals, Thursdays are the most important days, as that is when most surgeries happen. This Thursday is also significant, as on this day the city court will reveal what will happen next with the Doskaliev's case and its figurants.
The deputy chairman of the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan, Yuri Zakharov, was recently charged for slander and issued a parole. After the information was leaked to press, observers started talking about the possible dismissal of Zakharov from his post. However, on Tuesday, the Bostandik District Court of Almaty issued a decision in favor of the politician, making the possible outcome of the situation even more unclear than before.
The fallout between Yuri Zakharov and Vladimir Ovsyannikov happened when the latter claimed that the former groundless accused him of corruption. The chieftain of the Semirechye Cossack Union dismissed all allegations and said that Zakharov is the one acting dishonestly. Supposedly, he sold the office of the organization Russian House in Almaty without the consent of the Slavic communities and then invested money into his private business. Russia presented this building to the Slavs and their compatriots, but then the office was sold, and according to the financial police, Zakharov invested the money into his market in Petropavlovsk. Representatives of Slavic unions have already appealed about the matter to the head of state. In an open letter, they asked to dismiss Zakharov from the position of the chieftain and withdraw his membership in the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan. The organization is virtually no longer there. Instead, there are brands almost completely maintained by some nasty people. There is no other way to call them. They are not politicians, but they have only selfish personal interests. I feel that he played a not-so-generous role for the Kazakhs. His arrival signaled a major breakup. He attempted to reconcile the parties, but it is impossible to forcibly unite Russians. The Kazakhs' case was reviewed by the Bostandik District Court, which ruled on October 19th in favor of Yuri Zakharov, who was acquitted of all charges of slander. At the same time, the court lifted his measure of restraint, which was the recognizance not to leave the city. One of Zakharov's allies, who also calls himself a chieftain of Semirechye Cossack Union, claims the case has political undertones, and defendants were subject to pressure through the information warfare. In my opinion, this case was set up on Tuesday as the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan begins its work on the same day. Hence, all the materials and publications are directed at discrediting Zakharov's name. Vladimir Ovsyannikov intends to appeal the current decision in higher courts. In response, the other party will demand a compensation for moral damages. At the same time, some important announcements concerning Kazakhs might be announced during the Assembly's meeting on October 20th.
Well, the deputy chairman of the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan is harshly criticized by the public and his colleagues. Almaty is hosting a roundtable discussing what might be the most scandalous document drafted by said organization, the Doctrine of National Unity. While the event is co-organized by the Culture Ministry, no representatives of the department or even the Assembly itself showed up for the discussion.
The National Union Doctrine is now seen by many as the doctrine of contention. This much debated document is once again up for discussion in Almaty. The topics are all familiar: the national identity, which term is more appropriate, Kazakh of Kazakhstani, the necessity to study the state language, and what will happen to those who will not learn it timely. The only difference now is that the Tuesday's roundtable didn't feature representatives of the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan and officials. This is becoming a tradition, as the event is ignored yet again by the authors of the idea of its defenders. In this sense, these talks seem a bit empty. Thus, the events organized by the Culture Ministry produce some minor information burst, but then disappear and leave nothing behind. The last information burst regarding the national unity happened in the beginning of the year. The doctrine was long under discussion, and the national patriots even drafted their own alternative version of it. Then the concept was blamed for ethnocentrism. The freshly created working group read the doctrine of the term Kazakhstani, which was proposed for use for the identification of the citizenship. The issue was solved on paper, but in reality the proper term Kazakh or Kazakhstani still causes major heated debates.
Я привел статистику, она открытая ведь эта статистика.
I cited the open statistics for the 2009. It is clear that there are 128 nations represented in Kazakhstan, but dozens of them are comprised of only several people. For instance, we have Eskimos, but only less than 1%.
Складывается буквально из единиц людей.
Experts note that to recognize the failure of the doctrine now will be the same as to recognize the fragility of the foundation used for the creation of the ethnic communities' policies of the last 20 years. It seems that roundtables about nothing will be as common as completely random public celebrations held by the Assembly of Peoples of Kazakhstan with or without any reason whatsoever.
Two events commemorating a very different heroes of Kazakhstan were held on Tuesday in Almaty. A book about President Nazarbayev was presented in the office of the ruling party, while writer and war hero Baurjan Mamysh-Uli was remembered in the Museum of History.
On Tuesday, Kazakhstan was celebrating the centennial anniversary of a scholar, writer and a war hero Baurjan Mamysh-Uli. His relatives, as well as members of the Kazakh Writers' Union and other culture activists, all gathered in Almaty for the commemoration meeting. The solemn gathering was also attended by the elementary school pupils. The event featured the screening of documentaries about the life of Borjan Mamysh Uli and a unique exhibition of archived documents and personal belongings of the author. Zina Pakhmetova, Borjan Mamysh Uli's daughter-in-law, made a new contribution to the museum collection in the form of a printing press and a dombra. Writer Azilkhan Nurshaikhov, who wrote a novel Truth and Legend, was personally acquainted with Mamysh Uli. I always tried to be like Borjan Mamysh Uli all my life until the end of the war. I acted Borjan-like. I also heard about him during the war in 1943 and 1958. On the other side of the city, the classmate of President Nazarbayev, Saduakasa Simbai, presented his book Ushkonir, My Golden Cradle. The memoirs paint the picture of the childhood and school years of the nation's leader. Symbolically, the event was held in the office of the ruling party. According to the book's author, everyone in this class was friendly. Quite obviously, only one pupil managed to stand out and now rules the country, while other friends are just trying to cash in on his name. The book was published with a circulation of 10,000 copies in Kazakh, Russian and English languages. You can read in the foreword that the book talks about the president's childhood, adolescence and the way he became who he is now.
The advisor to President Nazarbayev, Yermuhamed Yertizbayev, dubbed in press as the chief troubadour of the nation's leader, said in the interview to the newspaper Lita that the opposition is trying to discredit the OSCE summit in Astana by holding an alternative forum. The official added that there are currently around 7,000 NGOs working in the country, actively cooperating with the authorities, helping it to build the civic society. At the same time, the anti-governmental formations, including defrauded interest holders, mortgagers and activists of various public unions, are only trying to deplete the importance of the upcoming event. Here is what Yertizbayev said on the matter.
What can Nazarbayev's opponents achieve? Nothing. I don't believe they can be even called opponents. Our paths are completely different. Previously, 18 international organizations representing international NGOs decided to conduct an alternative conference of the OSCE civil society in Astana on November 29th through 30th. Public activists have even booked a hotel. However, the next day the booking was cancelled, supposedly due to a request from the authorities. Now the alternative summit might not be held altogether. Representatives of the oppositional political parties were not planning to participate in the forum, but took Yertizbayev's statement as a sign of officials' effort to present Kazakhstan as a problem-free country. I am more than sure that every word of his speech was checked and approved by the head of state. They simply had to discredit truly independent organizations before such major event as a summit.